Hey guys, I'm going to talk in this video a little bit more about Masteron and if it is a good choice for something to inhibit the aromatization of estrogen, or at least control it, mitigate it. And that's what it's known for. That's why people use it for. And it seems to do a relatively good job, whereas it does control the estrogen, I believe, levels in the body, but as well controls the estrogenic, more the effects of that, such as gynecomastia. And the reason why Masteron was even created in the first place, its first actual therapeutic use was for breast cancer. So it was to inhibit the growth of tumors in breast tissue. And in doing so, it was anti-estrogenic because the estrogen was what was feeding the cancer in itself, the breast cancer. So it was, I believe it brought down the levels of estrogen systemically in the body, but as well at specific target tissues, such as where, like the breast, that's where estrogen is, it would be a target tissue. To at least block the receptor sites from estrogen. I believe it does that well. So in that sense, it acts like a SARM, okay? And as opposed to other medications or other AIs and other steroids, that is too, which such as primobolan, which acts directly as an AI. I believe it like AIs actually bring down levels more dramatically in the body, whereas Masteron, I believe it does control it to some degree, but not like an AI does. So I believe that's why it is more ideal, because AIs can in fact crush your estrogen levels, and I don't know how many of you guys have actually experienced that, but it does not feel great when your estrogen's crushed. And on the other side of things, it does not feel great when you are running high estrogen either. And it's kind of interesting, just on a little side note, when you do experience both of those things and you're in tune with your body, you kind of intuitively know what your levels are good. Like you're within a good range, because you're getting all the positive effects, and you're not getting side effect of too high or too low estrogen. But that being said, obviously most ideal is getting blood work done and making sure it's within range. But to get back to the conversation at hand, Masteron is a great choice for this, because when run with testosterone, which testosterone converts to estrogen, it seems to, and I mean higher doses of testosterone, it seems to, when you run it at around a 1-to-1 ratio, it seems to do a pretty good job to mitigate estrogenic effects, such as high blood pressure and gynecomastia. So, yeah, amongst other things. So it does a really good job. The other thing that Masteron does is it improves sexual performance, which high amounts of estrogen or low amounts of estrogen hinders that. Okay, so it does a good job at countering if there's high estrogen in the body, your sexual performance is going to go down. Introducing Masteron, it seems to have a reverse effect, so you actually do have a positive sexual performance. Again, kind of a side note, but it is pertinent to this, relevant to this conversation as well. Now, that being said, I have to kind of play against this argument, which is if you run really high amounts of testosterone, maybe Masteron is not going to be sufficient. So if you're running like a gram of testosterone, or a high levels, maybe I'm going to throw out there above 500, but it is dependent on your sensitivity and your conversion, because some people are very low converters of estrogen, whilst other people are very high converters. And also, like, some people are really high responders to Masteron, and maybe some people are low responders. There's always outliers, in percentages of the population with every type of drug, side effect wise and such. So I can't paint this like wide brush stroke that it's going to be the same for everybody, although there seems to be a trend anyway, and I can speak on my own personal experience. It does work, especially when it's more, you're not pushing crazy high testosterone doses. Okay, so it pairs well when you're like going above a TRT level, obviously, like when you're in the HRT and kind of a gym bro level, I'll call it, not like a professional bodybuilding level. Matching it 1-to-1 ratio, I believe, is going to be a good job, and potentially you could even run more Masteron than your testosterone at certain times. Like if you really want to go on a cut, you might run lower levels of testosterone and a higher level of Masteron. And speaking of lower levels of testosterone, obviously the best way to mitigate estrogen in the body is just do lower amounts of testosterone. Go to where the source is, right? If you're having bad estrogenic side effects, the answer always isn't to add something else, add another ancillary drug or anything else. Not always, although you can obviously. But a lot of the time, I'm going to say guys who run into this problem are just running too high amounts of testosterone, and you don't really need it, okay? In fact, I recommend running lower amounts and then running higher DHT and potentially NOR19, adding a NOR19, as opposed to just running high, like a higher dose of testosterone. Because when you run high testosterone, you'll run into obviously estrogenic effects, because testosterone converts to estrogen, but as well you'll run into other potential side effects like bloating and even hair loss. I believe one of the biggest reasons that steroid users lose hair is because they run too much testosterone, and testosterone converts directly to DHT, and that's not to be confused with other drugs that are DHT derivatives that might not crush or might not cause hair loss. But on the topic of some DHTs, such as Primobolan and EQ, if you were to crush your estrogen in your body by running like those things too high, and then at the same time you're running high testosterone, which is converting to DHT, you therefore have high DHT and low estrogen. That's like the perfect recipe for hair loss. Okay, so you have to be careful, as well as other issues. So you have to be careful there. But to go back to my original kind of thesis, my original point, it does work really well at that 1-to-1 ratio. Around, say you're running 4 to 600 testosterone, you run 4 to 600 Masteron, 1-to-1 ratio. I would say my educated guess, 9 times out of 10, that would be fine, if not even more. So that's why it's good, as opposed to if you just ran the testosterone, you might have some high estrogen issues, or at least like maybe nipple sensitivity or something, beginning stage of gyno, or more heightened blood pressure, etc. So what are your guys' thoughts on this video? I want to hear your feedback, your experience with it, your perspective. Was I right? Was I wrong? Do you have any questions or any more things you want me to clarify? I want to keep this kind of as simple as possible, because it can be a bit of a advanced topic when you're talking about biochemistry and such. But and applied steroid science, applied science when it comes to pharmacology and controlling certain hormonal levels in the body. That could be an advanced topic, but it doesn't have to be. I want to keep it as simple as possible. So what are your thoughts? Leave in the comment section below. Peace.